Hello, freakazoids! How's it going? Oh. Gray, how come you hit the microphone? I don't know. Sometimes it just... you do stuff, you know? You actually might hit a microphone. Okay. Yep, that's right. Oogla boogla. Yeah. Yeah, what a crazy day today. Looking up these cases. I was looking up one. Well, I've been looking up this one. Hell, right now I don't even remember what state that was in. And then today, there was one that I mentioned on the air, I don't know, a week or two ago or something. And then Ada brought it up to me again, and then I was like looking at that, and about 10 minutes into that, another name popped up on the screen that wasn't even related at the time to that one. And then I just looked at that one, and then that one kept leading to all these other, I mean, it was crazy. You know, early 1980s. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. The last couple days, it doesn't seem like anybody's getting, I don't know if it's notifications or what, but there's nobody really even, like normally I get 30, 40 subscribers a day, but it's like 2. You know, I don't even know if people are seeing my video other than the people that normally see the video. Are you guys buffering or anything? It says that there's only one person watching at this point. Yeah, because it's not I'm getting, well, now it's green, so it should be good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think YouTube just blows, you know. YouTube has just turned into a pile of crap. Is really what's happened here. Five by Five. That's from the movie Aliens. At least that's where I remember it from. Oh, doesn't look like you guys are going to get to see Blue again. Darn it, he's sitting right down here, but the camera isn't working for that. Yeah, don't forget that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. That way you can follow along as we look into and investigate different cases, all right? Okay. Man, I don't know how this is going to flow or anything. I just feel like I put as much effort into it as I could. It's just, I don't know. Well, let's just see how it flows, all right? I'm going to try to do each one at a time. And it's so bizarre because it's all kind of in the same area, and they seem like a few of them could be related, and maybe the others are related to a different series that's out there. But man, you didn't want to live in Colorado in the early 1980s, okay? Definitely didn't want to live there. Gray, I live in Colorado. That's not fair. Well, that's too bad, okay? You know, sometimes the truth is just the truth, all right? You always get emails from people that, because they live somewhere, I just don't know. Well, then tell me this. Don't have these things happen so that they don't show up in the freaking newspaper, okay? Because they're actually things that happen, you know? All right. Of course, now I have to find the folder. I had it open a minute ago, and there we go. All right. So I was going to start off, I was just going to cover the newer story of Janelle Matthews, all right? But I'm actually going to start with Vicky Carpenter. And they're all right around the same 2 or 3 years. It's wild. You can tell I'm trying to figure out how to do this where it's just I actually made a folder in here called Colorado Unsolved, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 folders right in there. And I didn't even have time to get to the Beth Miller one to look, so we're gonna have to do that one on the fly. All right. All right. Okay, the first one is Vicky Carpenter, and what's strange is I think Vicky Carpenter's the one that I saw below the Janelle Matthews case. I was just looking up stories on her, and there was an article below that had nothing to do with that at the time. And I just was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I sent that screenshot over to Ada. I go, read this one." And then that one led to 3 others. So it was kind of like this rabbit hole of research. But I tried to get as much stuff on each one as I could. And I'm sure there's even some more out there somewhere. Yeah. So the first reference in the paper I could find, search to find traces of missing 3. So this story here even mentions 3. But I had seen her name prior without seeing this, and then the 3 mentioned in here, 2 of them, I believe, let's see. Yeah, Vicky, Denise Davenport, Janelle Matthews, and there's also Vicky Carpenter. They just all showed up in this one article, even though I had already been looking into them because they were on other articles that just sort of randomly popped up around that same time. Really weird shit. Okay, so more than 800 volunteers involved in ground and air search around Greeley and southeast Denver on Saturday. And here's that Denver thing, 1982, 83, Schnee Oberholzer. More than 800 volunteers involved in ground and air search around Greeley and southeast Denver on Saturday failed to turn up any traces of 2 women and a teenage girl. Authorities and coordinators involved in both searches said that unless new evidence turns up, no additional searches are planned. The missing include Vicky Carpenter, 31, of Aurora, and Denise Davenport, 20, and Janelle Matthews, 13, both of Greeley. Miss Carpenter disappeared February 18th. That's the one we are discussing right now, Vicky Carpenter. Her car was found by her estranged husband, Paul Carpenter, 6 blocks where the fashion show had taken place. One of the tires had been punctured. So 6 blocks away from a fashion show that she was at. She was at a bar, and she was, I guess, swimsuit modeling, whatever the hell you want to call it. And this is what I think happened in this case. I think somebody punctured her tire, and then they followed her, knowing that she would start, you'd hear that you have a flat tire, and you'd pull over, and he would be the knight in shining armor, like, "Oh, wow, it looks like your tire's blown. Can I help you out?" And then she got in the car with him, and then after he killed her after that. That's my theory. So let's see. Paul Carpenter, 6 blocks. Let's see. Her car was found by her estranged husband, Paul Carpenter, 6 blocks. I think it meant to say from where the fashion show had taken place. One of the tires had been punctured, police said. Miss Davenport, a junior at the University of Northern Colorado, was last seen February 23rd getting into her boyfriend's car at the Greeley Mall after leaving work at this is the other case, Greeley Mall after leaving work at a clothing store. But we'll get to that one in a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to move on to this next one here. These are all just back in the, back when it happened, articles on these women. What killed Vicki Carpenter? So they actually did find her body. I have a longer article that explains it all. But what killed Vicki Carpenter may never be known because the body had become too decomposed before it was fished out of Cherry Creek Reservoir. Authorities say the 24-year-old secretary vanished February 18th. The body, bound with chains and weighted with cinder blocks, was retrieved from the reservoir Tuesday afternoon. Pathologists may never be able to determine the exact cause of death. County Sheriff Pat Sullivan, preliminary autopsy results showed no bullet or stab wounds and no broken bones. The last part of the autopsy involves toxicology tests that could take several days. So I think she was probably strangled. But she was killed. I mean, it's just bizarre to look at the how it's set up here. Let's see. Yeah, so she was at this restaurant right here. Look how simple this whole route is. She was at a bar right here called Nick's Restaurant. It's not called that now, but this is the address. So it was in this little mall area here, if that existed at the time. But either way, it was right here. And she left, and then her car was spotted right here. Now, what's interesting is when you type in the address of, I think it says 8400 East Hampton, it puts you over here in the cemetery, but I think they meant this apartment complex, which is like 8423. They just said 8400. I think that was a generic number. So the car was found in this area here, and maybe she had a flat tire and pulled in, and then her body was right here, I think right in this area, weighted down with chains and cinder blocks. I mean, really heavy duty chains too. Well, yeah, of course, yeah. And then there's another article that says, authorities in 3 Front Range counties are investigating the possibility that the deaths of Grand Junction man's daughter could be linked to deaths of 3 other women. The body of 20-year-old Denise Davenport, daughter of Grand Junction electrical contractor Hal Davenport, was found Saturday in the South Platte River near Greeley. So that's another case, right? But they actually mention Carpenter in here, but Davenport's one of the other ones I was already looking at when you find these connections. It's bizarre. All right, so I'm going to go read these newer articles. These were put out in 2015. So this is her right there, Vicki Carpenter. And this is how her body was discovered. 2 young boys made a gruesome discovery in the spillway, and I think that that's what this is right here. I think it allows for water to run out. I don't know if that's this though. So it could have been this little thing here. I don't know. I mean, this might be a pump, and maybe this is the spillway right there. I don't know what it is on this lake, but I don't see anything else on here that looks like that. And I looked up spillway. So it's either here or right there. I wouldn't be surprised if it was this though. Well, there was 2 guys fishing though. I don't think it'd be hard to get there fishing. Let's read that article. 2 young boys made a gruesome discovery in the spillway of the Cherry Creek Reservoir. Actually, 2 young boys, yes, probably just walking around fishing, so maybe they were right there. But their find while fishing would have more meaning for one of them. We saw the thing floating around and looked pretty freaky. Scott Beyer, then 14, told a reporter at the time, "It looks so realistic, just like a horror movie." Scott touched the arm to see if it was real, and flesh came out. The true significance of this discovery wouldn't sink in until he learned the identity of the woman who was weighed down with 2 cinder blocks tied to a swing set chain wrapped around her neck. So, you know those big, thick chains that you get on swing sets? That's what it was. The boys, around her neck. The partially clad, bloated body was that of Vicki Carpenter, a former neighbor and babysitter for Scott and his sister. How crazy is that? The kid who found her fishing was actually, she was the babysitter of that kid. That's nuts. The boys found her April 2nd, 1985, 2 months after the 24-year-old model had been reported missing after failing to return home from a swimsuit modeling show at Nick's restaurant at Avenue. And that's where I just showed you guys a minute ago. Bruce Isaacson, a cold case 100 East Hampden side investigator for Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, said one theory is that the killer watched the show and decided he wanted her. Well, I think that might be what happened. It's hard to say that. He was prepared to kidnap her and bind her with a chain and some gauge as a swing set chain. The killer waited until the show was over and then followed Carpenter, Isaacson believes. Vicki starts driving home in her red 1967 Buick Regal and soon realizes something is wrong with her car, and she pulls over. She parks. She parks in the parking lot of the Lodge Apartments at 8400 East Hampden Avenue, but I think it's actually across the street because 8400 is a cemetery. The killer may have pulled up behind her and threatened her with a knife or gun, or simply physically attacked her immediately after she climbed out of her car. Or he may have stopped behind her car and politely offered to help Vicki in any way he could. The Good Samaritan offers Vicki a ride to wherever she was going and then attacks her once she climbs into his car. So I think that one makes a little bit more sense because she probably needed to, get the tire fixed. But I guarantee it, he's the person who actually damaged the tire, and he knew that she was going to have to pull over at some point. When Vicki didn't return home that night following the modeling show, her mother, Lynette Clements, got worried immediately. Vicki was very reliable. She worked at King Scoopers and had a 3-year-old boy that she loved dearly. Her life revolved around caring for her son. Clements called Vicki's estranged husband, Paul Carpenter, then 26, and told him that Vicki hadn't returned home from a modeling show. Paul Carpenter began driving the neighborhood near the nightclub where the modeling show had been and spotted Vicki's red car in the Lodge apartment parking lot. He made the discovery within hours after Vicki went missing. One thing he noticed right away was that the car had a flat tire. Isaacson said the tire appeared to have been cut with a knife instead of being disabled by glass or road debris. As is customary, Paul Carpenter became a person of interest. See, what's interesting though is if her tire was punctured, then that means the person knew who she was before she went in to the talent show, right? It's not like somebody who's at the talent show saw her and went, "Oh wow," because he would have had to know to puncture the tire before, like knowing that she's leaving. He might have ran outside really quick, punctured the tire, then got in his car and waited for her to drive away. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So to me, it means that he was it almost feels like he was perhaps even stalking her prior to that. Yeah. Wow. So anyways, as is customary, Paul Carpenter became a person of interest. It's very similar to Jeff Oberholzer, right? Again, I mean, look at this guy. He finds the car, he saw the tire was slashed, all this kind of stuff. As is customary, Paul Carpenter became a person of interest in his wife's disappearance. But he no longer is likely a person of interest, he said. We are looking elsewhere. We believe the killer is a predator because he stalked her. See, there you go. And that sentence right there would suggest that they think that too. And I was just thinking to myself that he planned it, so you would have had to know whose car that was before she even went in there. All right. Well, Gray, how do you know she didn't go out and have a cigarette and go, see, that's the kind of, I don't, you know what? I don't know that. Okay. I don't know that, but I do think of those things. I just immediately go, okay, the odds of that are really low comparatively. All right. And why would she go to her car? Or wouldn't she just go outside? Well, actually, at that time, you could just smoke inside the bar, right? I'm kind of thinking about how it is now, where everybody who smokes has to go outside. This is the first one. 2 young boys, man. Many searches for Vicky's body were organized. Hundreds of volunteers looked in ditches and in wooded areas near parking lots where her car was discovered. 2 months passed before the boys found her remains. Vicky's body was so badly decomposed the coroner could not determine the cause of death, although she had bruises on her neck. I think she was strangled to death. Isaacson said strangulation or asphyxiation are strong possibilities, but may not explain how she died. Well, I wonder why you'd say that. It seems like that'd be kind of obvious. The light gauge chain was wrapped around her. She had been weighted down, but not with the chain. The chain wasn't the weight that held her body down, Isaacson said. Something else had kept her body below the surface of the water. Isaacson said it was one of the details of the case that have never been released. Oh, that's interesting. I thought they said it was like cinder blocks. If someone comes forward claiming to have knowledge about who killed Vicky, it is the one thing that the person might know, and that could help solve the case. Well, there you go. See, there you go. That's why you keep that one piece of information to yourself that only the killer or somebody who knows the killer would know. You don't hear anything? What do you mean you don't hear anything? How about turn up your volume, BKK? Try doing that. Okay? What's funny is people give away how they don't really try to troubleshoot by just coming in. I don't hear anything, everybody! Yeah, well, the reason you probably don't hear anything is either your headphones aren't plugged in or the volume on YouTube isn't turned up. Doesn't it make sense? Because there definitely is audio going. Yeah. Yeah, I have no dropped frames at all. And I have green connection bars on YouTube. All right. So I wonder what that is. Something else had kept her body below the surface. I thought earlier they said cinder blocks, but the tricky part of solving her murder was there was no physical evidence that authorities were able to tie to the killer. It's also unclear how long Vicky's body had been left in the water. We can't tell for sure, Isaacson said. She was in the water so long, if there had been semen, it would have been destroyed. The most likely scenario is that she was murdered within a few hours after she was kidnapped, possibly right after a sexual assault. But because she was so decomposed, there's no way to eliminate the possibility that she was also held captive for a period of days or weeks before she was murdered, right? the chain was more indication that the killer was organized and prepared. Let's see. May have? Or, let's see. It's probably he. He may have attended the swimming suit modeling event with the intention of picking one of the women out, slashing her car tire, and then kidnapping her with tools to control her already packed away in his car. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of obvious. Just me listening to it seems to me like the killer knew who this was beforehand. She's obviously very pretty, you know, she was swimsuit model, whatever. And he's following her around. She goes inside, and he probably goes inside too. And then later he sort of sees her gathering up her purse, saying goodbye, and he kind of goes out really quickly, slashes the tire, then runs over to his vehicle and sits in it, waiting for her to get out. And the tire isn't going to be completely flat right away, because if it was flat right off the bat, she might have stopped in that first parking lot. So he wanted to make sure that the air was still kind of trickling out when she pulled away. That's why it was about 6 blocks down the road where she goes, oh crap, pulls over. And then he's this knight in shining armor. Or they did one of the other options where he forced her into his vehicle with a gun or something like that, but away from where she got into the vehicle. Yeah. All right. Well, that is the case of Vicki Carpenter. Yeah. It's crazy. So there she is right there. It's got the Farrah Fawcett hair there. Well, not quite. It's not quite as feathered in the front, but... It doesn't seem like my stream bots work anymore much, you know. They don't really ever pop up on there. Hello, Lillian. So isn't that crazy that... oh, so it does work like that. You just type in tips. Okay. I mean, when you see cases like this, you see it and you know that the person who did that's not going to be their first one. And it's odd that we're doing the same, it's the same time frame again. You know? I mean, the other cases were 82, 83, 84, 85, they're all around the same time. And it's, the MO's a little different in some of these. So now I'm going to switch over to Denise Davenport, which was mentioned in one of those other articles. And look, she has a similar look, right? Dark hair, looks like, brown hair. Denise Davenport, 20, disappeared Sunday in Greeley. A Grand Junction man was in Greeley today, helping organize volunteer search efforts for the 20-year-old daughter who has been missing since Sunday evening. Hal Davenport, an electrical contractor who lives in Redlands, was planning a Saturday search for Denise Davenport, a University of Northern Colorado student last seen leaving her job at Greeley Mall at 5:15 p.m. Sunday. Calls of volunteers from as far away as Denver and Cheyenne, Wyoming, were pouring in to the Search Command Center to set up at the home of Dennis Davenport's boyfriend, 25-year-old Doug Kendall, because I think she was actually borrowing his vehicle. Davenport said with the crowd he expects Saturday, which will meet on the UNC campus, he hopes to be able to search every road in the county. Our intention is to cut down the space The police officers and professionals have the cover, he said. Denise Davenport was to be installed as an officer in her sorority when she was last seen. Friends became concerned when she did not appear for class Monday morning. That's weird. I mean, God, we're almost... God, seems like we're almost exactly the same age. 85. I mean, I was 20 that same year. Now that I think about it. The car that she was driving was borrowed from her boyfriend, was found Monday afternoon. Candle said he doesn't think the missing woman was the last to drive the sports car because of the position of the driver's seat. God, isn't that just one of those classic things right there? So Candle, when he got to the car, so maybe that's a little different story then. That's interesting. Huh. It seems like she definitely would have gotten into her vehicle. But why would he ever need to get back into her vehicle? So let's see. Maybe, yeah, I mean, that's bizarre. So he followed her. Then he gets into her vehicle. Or let's see, how would he do that, though? Because then she would be... I mean, two people would make that a hell of a lot easier. But, man, that's a little strange. Look at that. Candle said he doesn't think the missing woman was the last to drive the sports car because of the position of the driver's seat. The car was left unlocked. The radio was left on, and there was mud on the driver's seat. Wow. So that car might have been put there way later. I mean, let's just say that she drove quite a bit further. I mean, I don't know where she lived, though. That's the thing. But let's say she was over here at this bar and she lived way over here somewhere. Well, what if she drove over here, then pulled over, and then the guy took her, he pulls up behind her, abducts her, kills her, dumps the body, then drives somewhere near where the vehicle is, parks his car, gets into her vehicle, drives it way over here to throw people off because this isn't far away from where she was dancing, and then parks it in this apartment complex over here, then walks back to his car and then drives away. That kind of makes sense to me right there. Hello, Hazel. Huh. That's pretty detailed here. He said she was always careful to lock the car and turn off the radio so that the antenna would retract. Candle said Davenport has always been careful about being out alone and escorting roommates on walks to the library, but he said she is also outgoing. She's really friendly. Excuse me. She's really friendly, outgoing, and easily approachable, Candle said. In addition to clues of Davenport's whereabouts, Candle said searchers also are looking for clues to the December 20th disappearance. See, now here's another one. 13-year-old Janelle Matthews. Okay, that's the last case we'll be doing. But it's interesting how they're starting to kind of wonder about all this. Hey, thanks, BKK. And as I always tell you guys are my sole source of income on the channel, basically, since the ad revenue is almost nothing. So I always appreciate it when you guys support the channel so that we can... keep the channel going. As a matter of fact, on the 1st of this month, we'll be doing another donation to probably, I would say this next month I'll probably do, I might do DNA Doe Project again. That's one of the ones I just really want to help. So there you go. So what was she saying? Candle said Davenport has always been careful about being out alone and escorting roommates on walks to the library, but he said she is outgoing. She's really friendly, outgoing, and easily approachable, Candle said. In addition to clues of Davenport's whereabouts, Candle said searchers are looking for clues to the December 20th disappearance of 13-year-old Janelle Matthews. Hey, thanks, Kit Kat. On the advice of authorities, searchers are concentrating on areas within about 200 yards of the roads and highways, Candle said. Yeah, for an easy dump. Hey, honk if you support Gray. All right.
Honk if you support Gray.
Or me,
Heart.
I guess is what I would say. I was just reading it verbatim. But yeah, I'm actually Gray myself. I wasn't really talking in the third person there. All right. I don't do that. Lieutenant Paul Branham of the Greeley. Well, there's another paragraph before that. On the advice of authorities, searchers are concentrating on areas within about 200 yards. Right. So Lieutenant Paul Branham of the Greeley Police Department said there has been little progress in the investigation. Let's see. And here's a crazy thing. None of these have been solved. Okay? The two that I've covered so far, they're still unsolved cases. And this is 1985. So that's where you kind of think maybe they are related, because they're all at the same time and got away with it on all of them.
I'll honk.
Thank you. I'll honk. You know, Streamlabs really needs to work on their pronunciation. Okay. I don't think there's much DNA of any because of the condition of the bodies. Yeah, so let me keep moving down on this one. So at that time, they were searching for her. And then look at this one. See, this is a different story than the last one, but she was also found in the water. Look at. An autopsy was continuing today for a 20-year-old University of Northern Colorado student, the daughter of Grand Junction man whose nude body was discovered Saturday floating in the South Platte River. Denise Davenport's daughter of Grand Junction. They keep talking about what her dad does. It's really strange. Like an electrical contractor. It's like every article they keep saying that. It was like, who cares? Weld County Coroner Paul Stoddard said the autopsy would not be completed until toxicology tests are completed. Canoeists, people on canoes, found it Saturday afternoon. Greeley police and divers searched the river Sunday, collecting bits of clothing and other undisclosed material as possible evidence. Police said they had no suspects in the death, which is being investigated as a homicide. Doug Candle, Davenport's 25-year-old boyfriend, said the $25,000 pledge as a reward for information leading to Davenport will be offered as a reward for information leading to the arrest of whomever is responsible for the killing. Yeah, Davenport was the subject of massive volunteer search efforts organized immediately after her disappearance. See, that's just like Oberholzer. Very similar. Those efforts had continued on a smaller scale until as recently as a week ago, Candle said. The family established a fund. Okay, what's this one? Yeah, it was found in South Platte River of Greeley. Here's one aspect that I found interesting. Weld coroner wants autopsy reports secret of her specific case. Weld County Coroner Paul Stoddard has asked a judge to prevent the Greeley Tribune from gaining access to autopsy reports of certain homicide victims, including that of Denise Davenport. The request came on the heels of a March decision by the appeals court that autopsy reports are not criminal justice records, but are public records covered under the state's Open Records Act. In the decision, the court pointed to a 1974 state Supreme Court ruling that held autopsy reports to be open to inspection. Yeah, so let's see. Earlier this month, in a letter to the county attorney's office, the Tribune renewed a 2-year-old request to see the autopsy report of Denise Davenport, a 20-year-old University of Northern Colorado student whose body was found more than 2 years ago in the South Platte River east of Greeley. Her killer has not been found, and authorities have never released the cause of her death. But former Weld Sheriff Harold Andrews has said Davenport did not die from a gunshot, stab wound, or drug overdose. So I think that sort of points to strangulation yet again, right? So now you have two women, two attractive women that have been apparently abducted and put into water at some point. And both seem to have been strangled. It's wild. Yeah, and in this picture here, you can actually see there's a guy in the water here at a snag of trees here. Greeley firemen and police search among debris along the South Platte River about 2 miles east of the city for clues in the death of a 20-year-old. A badly decomposed body, see this one also was badly decomposed, was found in the South Platte River east of here, was identified Sunday as that of missing University Northern Colorado co-ed Denise Davenport, 20, authorities said. Weld County Coroner Paul Stoddard confirmed the identity through dental records. He said cause of death would not be determined until completion of an autopsy, which we don't get to know what it said. Yeah, so she was last seen leaving her job at the Greeley Shopping Center. So I have all this mapped out too. So let's see. See, what's interesting about this one is her vehicle was put right here at Fraser Hall right here. That's where her vehicle was found. And she worked here and left here at 5:15, and then her vehicle was found right here at Fraser Hall. You know, this is Fraser Hall right here, and it was parked in the parking lot. And then apparently the vehicle was 2 miles from town on this river right here. So let's just sort of do an eyeball 2 miles. Let's just say, you know, right at the edge of town. I mean, 2 miles isn't far at all. It's like right there. And as a matter of fact, another article was very specific, but I had a hard time understanding what the hell it was talking about. Yeah, these are all unsolved, all these cases right here. Yeah. So she was reported missing to the Greeley Police Department. This is February 1985. Miss Davenport was last seen leaving work at the Greeley Mall that I just showed you. The vehicle Miss Davenport was driving was discovered a few days later on 9th Avenue near Fraser Hall. So let's see where 9th Avenue actually is. That's Fraser Hall. Oh, well, there you go. I just guessed. That's the only place where you can park, and that's 9th Avenue. So yes, it was parked right here on North Avenue. Yeah, the remains of Miss Davenport were located by a kayaker in the South Platte River. Now see if you can understand this right here. I'm going to just read this. 1 mile east of Highway 34 between 18th Street and Highway 34. Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me. 1 mile east of Highway 34 between 18th Street and Highway 34. Can you guys make sense of that? Well, if it's east of 34, then what do you mean between 18th and Highway 34? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it just still doesn't make any sense. Because I've gone to Highway 34. It's right there. So Highway 34 is just right outside of town there. But then 18th Street is way over here in town. Right? So maybe they're saying you take the center point between there and I don't know. And Highway 34 is a east to west highway. So how do you be east of Highway 34 when itself is not a north-south highway? 1 mile east of Highway 34 between 18th Street and Highway 34. Wow. That's terrible. Let me do 18th Street. Yeah, right there. Yeah, so there's 18th Street. And let's see, this is 34. Right? No, where was 34? Ah, crap. I'll put a pin here just to mark that. Okay, so that's 34th, and that's 18th. So maybe you go from here, and then maybe they're saying go and take a spot between 34 and 18th, because 18th, well, what's 18th right there? Anyway, that doesn't make any sense. Hey, thanks to Wanda. Very cool. Appreciate it. Yeah, I like stuff when it makes sense. So what we'll just do is the 2 miles east of the city. Okay, doesn't that just seem a little easier? That was that other direction. So we'll just go like here, 2 miles, and we're right there. Okay. So she was found somewhere around in this area right there.
Gray rocks, purple heart, purple heart, purple heart.
All right. Purple heart. That's the Kanika Jenkins hearts. I think. I can't remember now. Well, it's weird that they said 1 mile east of Highway 34 between 18th and Highway 34. Well, what does that mean? Okay. Yeah. Oh, I know what they're saying. Oh, I think I got it. Here's 34, and look at that, 18th Street's here, and it's saying between there, so like right there maybe? Although, so that's weird that there's 18th Street right there, but earlier it was going, oh, this is one of those cities with the freaking 18th Street by 27th Avenue. Oh, come on, I hate those cities. Like up in Washington, that's all they have. Is, oh, yeah, I live on 30th and 28th. Oh, great. What does that mean? So anyways, here's 18th right here. So 1 mile east of 34, east on 34, I probably is a better way to say it, between 18th Street, so that's still 18th Street right there, and Highway 34, so right there maybe, you know, I'm gonna do that. Okay. I'll just do that. I think that makes more sense. Okay, great. Now we'll get back to regularly scheduled programming. One mile east of Highway 34 between 18th Street and Highway 34. Anyone with information regarding this case is asked to please contact the Weld County Sheriff's Office. All right. Still got more on this one. Yeah, I think this is just more detail of how she went missing. The University of Northern Colorado student missing since Sunday was the object Wednesday of a widespread search. Denise Davenport, 20, of Littleton, is missing. She had been driving a car belonging to her boyfriend, Doug Candell, 21, who had been dating her for a year and a half. About 200 Greeley residents and UNC students took part Wednesday in the search. Less than an hour later, the car she had driven to work, Candle's blue Mazda RX-7, sat abandoned near a UNC building. We already showed that one. Miss Davenport was to have picked up Candle after work later that evening. She was to have been installed as an officer of a sorority. Huh. It's almost like she made it to campus, though. Unless it's another stalker, right? Because he knew to put her car back on the campus she's from. But if she was at work, when was she abducted? Candle reported her missing Sunday evening. After 2 days in which Greeley police could not turn up clues, Candle and Professor Dick Needham, one of Davenport's teachers, began the search. Candle said when the car was found, the driver's seat had adjusted all the way back, so that means a male, taller person was driving it, from the steering wheel. Miss Davenport, who was 5 foot 5 inches tall, must adjust the seat as close as possible to the steering wheel when she's driving. I wouldn't think you would have to do that at 5'5". Miss Davenport, who weighs 110 pounds and has sandy brown hair, was wearing a two-piece pink suit and black pumps when last seen. Greeley police officer David Volpe said the latest search, which began early Wednesday morning and lasted until about 4:30 p.m., covered a 10-mile radius around the area where the car was found. So far, we've been able to generate no leads, he said. Police did not find any signs of foul play in the abandoned car, but mud was on the seat, a fact investigators find strange. Yeah, I do too. I think it's very strange. It's almost like he took her somewhere else. It actually seems similar to the other case. Did the other case also say the seat was moved back too? I thought we just read that a minute ago. I thought it had the exact same thing. I don't know about the mud part. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Yeah, so there's mud on the seat. Interesting. She worked Sunday, and friends at the store where she worked told police she said she was going to have the car washed before picking up Candle. The car was found unwashed. God, that's so bizarre. It kind of almost makes you... in some ways, it feels like the person was in the car when they got into it. And you could actually see that maybe in both cases. And perhaps the slashed tire was just to make it look like that's why it was where it was or something. Throw people off. But I don't know. It seems more likely in that one that he followed her. This is a different scenario here, but it's eerily similar. I wouldn't be surprised at all if these two are related here. Yeah. So these are Vicky Carpenter, and then these are the Denise Davenport. Let's see how many miles away that is. Looks like it's in the same county. And that's only 50 miles away there. Oh, that's right. So there was an article in another... I've kept it open this whole time because it's one of these ones that it shuts you down and you have to buy a subscription after a certain amount of time. But this is an article from 2011. All right. More than 2 decades ago, 2 men riding a canoe in the South Platte River east of Greeley floated past something tied up in some branches near the banks. It was the nude body of Denise Davenport, a 21-year-old sorority member who had been attending school at the University of Northern Colorado. And all these links are in the description, so you can go check them out. And this is the Greeley Tribune. While a coroner determined her death was a homicide, her body was too decomposed to come up with anything substantial. Investigators worked the case for years, coming up with several suspects, but they had nothing that could stick to any one suspect. Davenport had been dabbling a bit in the Greeley drug world, so they're actually saying that she did drugs. Not I don't know if it was big time or anything. She seems a little bit responsible. It's kind of like a college student. You know how that in that year, 1985, everybody was doing coke and crap like that. Flash forward a quarter of a century. Listen to how crazy this gets, though. Davenport had been dabbling a bit in the Greeley drug world during a time when bad drugs were on the streets. Now we flash forward a quarter century to the arrest of Patrick Sullivan, 68, the former and longtime Arapahoe County Sheriff, the namesake for the Arapahoe County Jail, and even said to be responsible for bringing Pope John Paul II to Denver for World Youth Day in 1993, is now accused of offering young men methamphetamine for sex. His arrest stunned all who knew him as an anti-drug crusader and faithful lawman, but it also opened some eyes and perhaps raised a few eyebrows. Davenport, whose unsolved murder had been on Weld County's cold case list for 26 years, was the Sullivan's babysitter before she went off to college. So isn't that where we have the babysitter angle again, too? Because remember the other one, the other lady, the first case that we covered, remember she was found by one of the kids that she babysitted. I mean, what are the odds of this shit, man? I mean, do you guys find this just weird as hell? Yeah, so Davenport, whose unsolved murder had been on Weld County's cold case list for 26 years, was the Sullivan's babysitter before she went off to college. So it's just a year or so before that. My family thought he was God, said Davenport's father, Hal Davenport, because of how helpful he was to us when we were hitting dead ends. Was he really helping, though? You know what I mean? When we were trying to find Denise, and what a perfect way to pull somebody over. Like you get a flat tire. Wouldn't you trust a cop to drive you somewhere? When we were trying to find Denise, and I don't like to do the cop angle, but they're bringing it up in these. And there's actually sort of a nexus to the final case we'll be talking about tonight. That's in the news as today. The connection in the cases grows even more bizarre now that a man named Shaun Moss comes into play. After Sullivan retired, so after the sheriff retired from law, he moved on to become a security chief at the Cherry Creek School District. Sullivan, in 2007, hired Moss, 27, who was reported to be a former gay porn star. In January of this year, Moss's body was found floating in the South Platte River in the Denver area. So the same river. Wow, isn't that crazy? So Sullivan, who was a security chief at the school district after he retired, he hired a guy named Moss, and he's found in the Platte River. So two people that Sullivan knew well. One was the babysitter, and one was a person he hired, are both found floating dead in the river, the same river. Let me ask you guys, how many people do you guys even know that have been murdered? And what if, I mean, the thing is, if you told me, gosh, Gray, I know two people, and they didn't even know each other, but they were both found in the river, I might get a little bit concerned about you. Yeah, that's some weird shit. Always hopeful Davenport's case will be reopened. Investigated and plausible suspects found. Her family has their own ideas about the case and see no plausible connection with Sullivan, supposed dark side, her father said. Well, you don't know that, do you? You might want to, you're probably feeling weird about it because maybe over all those years he was helping, you thought he was helping you, but he was really kind of misdirecting you. You don't know, right? Hey, Carol. Wow. You actually are from the land of Oz? That's amazing. Oh, Australia maybe? Or
Great work, Grayhi from Oz.
Thank you. So there's some more down here. Strange things can happen, Hal Davenport said from his Texas home. That's the father. Shortly after Davenport's body was found on April 20th, 1985, Sullivan showed up at the Weld County Centennial Center to inquire about the young woman's death. So he was already there. You know, she was his babysitter. And then as soon as they found her body, he's down there already asking questions, although he was the sheriff at the time. So I don't know if that's that. It's coincidental, huh? Curious George? Okay. Pat came in and was concerned about her body being found, said retired Weld Sheriff Commander Tom Johnson. He and Ed were friends at the time. I think it was on Saturday. He stopped in and
Coincidental.
And wondered what was going on, and he told me that Denise was a personal friend of the family. So that kind of makes sense that he would, you know, if she was his babysitter and he's a sheriff, he's going to go in there and check it out. Yeah. Yeah, it might not have anything to do with it at all. I just think that's some really weird stuff. That you have this one sheriff knows two people personally that were both found floating in a river, and then he's arrested for supplying drugs, methamphetamines, for sex to people. So it sort of makes you wonder what was going on all those years ago in the 80s. According to Associated Press reports, authorities are also looking into what Sullivan may have known. This is 2011, so it doesn't sound like anything ever came of it. Known about Moss. His body was found January 26 in the South Platte River near Coors Field in downtown Denver. Sullivan, according to an AP report, had bailed Moss out of jail 12 days prior. Oh, Jesus. See, look at it. This is the guy, Sullivan hired this guy, right? And then just 12 days before he's floating in the river, he's bailed out of jail. And what does that sound like to you? Doesn't it sound like you want to get him out of jail so he doesn't talk to the wrong person, and you want him out on the streets, and then you can take care of him? All right? Wow. Listen to this. Meth was found in his system, as well as a common date rape drug. And remember, we just learned that Sullivan did supplied meth for sex to gay people, gay men. So here we go. Oh my God. Davenport's body was found in the South Platte, just east of Greeley, about 50 miles north of Denver. But because of her body's decomposition, it was impossible to determine whether drugs were in her system. Davenport had been somewhat mixed in the Greeley drug scene. We're talking about Denise here. She was arrested and pleaded guilty in 1983 to possession of marijuana. She was sentenced to 6 months in jail, suspended if she paid $250 fine. Who the hell wouldn't pay $250 over 6 months? What a weird trade-off that is. Wouldn't you think it would be, well, it's 6 months in jail or a $5,000 fine? I mean, $250. How is that worth 6 months? That's crazy. It sounds like she came to Greeley and developed a drug habit, Johnson said. There was a lot of bad dope in Greeley at the time, a lot of bad meth. I didn't really even know meth was that big in 1985, though. People were shooting up and dying with needles in their arms. The long-standing belief was that Davenport died of a drug overdose, but that couldn't be confirmed. I don't know. She was just, it doesn't make any sense. She's at work, she's going to go wash her car, and she was going to go to her sorority and be sworn in, but she goes, screw it, and then goes somewhere and gets a drug overdose. That doesn't make any sense. She sounds just like a college person that got a little bit carried away, with the drug aspect of it. Man, we should look up this Sullivan guy, don't you think? Whatever happened to this? Authorities had followed up for years on potential leads in the Davenport homicide, and they had at one point suspected her boyfriend at the time, Doug Candle, but there was no evidence. Also at the time, Larimer District Attorney Jim Black accused career criminal Larry Blem, now 67, but again there was no evidence that could stick. Hal Davenport to this day believes his daughter's killer is behind bars. He said law enforcement had much circumstantial evidence connecting his daughter to Blem, including some connections between them with hair and clothing fibers. Well, that's interesting. I know they only chose to prosecute Blem on charges they could make stick because there's no statute of limitations on murder, Davenport said, and I applaud that. I still hope that sometime there will be proof positive that Larry Blem is responsible and I can put it to rest, Davenport said. I don't know, man. They probably should go keep looking at that Sullivan guy. Although if they had hair and fibers like that, it's pretty good. That could be something that would skew the father into never believing anything else. But it's also possible that that was really weak circumstantial evidence. Maybe it matched fibers for, 10% of vehicles have this. Although, did they say hair, though? Here, if this homicide, some boyfriend. I can't do a search on this. Yeah, well, that's case number 2, everybody. All right, that was Denise Davenport. So now we're going to move on to Beth Miller. And this one I didn't have time to map out any of it, so maybe we can do that here. Although I don't have as much information on it. This one has a video.
Welcome back. We continue our series this week called Unsolved, with a cold case that has baffled investigators for more than 3 decades. In 1983, a 14-year-old girl from Idaho Springs went out for a jog. She has not been seen since. The disappearance of Beth Miller remains one of Colorado's most bizarre cold cases.
9 News.
Over the years, there have been fake confessions, the involvement of psychics, dozens of theories, and charges of police incompetence. The bottom line is nobody knows what really happened. Beth Miller had just turned 14 when she went jogging down Minor Street in Idaho Springs, August 16th, 1983.
So let's see if we can see what that looks like today. Was it Minor Street? Let me go back.
Street in Idaho Springs, 14 when she went jogging down Minor Street in Idaho Springs.
Okay. Minor Street. That's kind of a longer street, I guess. Yeah. Looked like it was at the end of the street, though, the way they had that filmed. Let's see. Well, it looks like a little bit like Breckenridge, doesn't it? Another cute little town there. So apparently that's Minor Street there, though.
August 16th, 1983. When she never came home, police started searching, at first focusing on a red pickup truck found at a nearby park. Witnesses had seen a man in a red truck talking to Beth. Turns out it wasn't the right red truck. Hundreds of people joined the search on foot and horseback. Many volunteers worked to provide meals for those combing the surrounding area. Beth's father, Mike, made an emotional plea on TV.
I'd like to ask everybody that they have seen anything, anywhere, that might help us locate Beth, to please notify your local law enforcement officers. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I would like to find where Beth Miller is at. I'd like to have closure on that case for the family and certainly for the community.
Under Sheriff Bruce Snelling says to this day they still follow leads, but without a sighting or finding a body, it's going to be difficult to solve this case.
Up here in the mountains, people find animal bones. There's occasion where we find human remains, and really one of our forethoughts is always that, well, I wonder if this is Beth Miller.
In the days after Beth disappeared, police were so desperate they were following leads by psychics who thought she was being held against her will nearby. It didn't help. In the case files stored at the CBI, there are hundreds of leads. They include several men arrested for murder or attacks on teens. One of the men's girlfriend told witnesses she helped dispose of Beth's body, but nothing has turned out. In 2007, a grand jury issued a scathing report accusing law enforcement of a clear lack of professionalism in the case.
Law enforcement again in
what we do, and we still to this day make some mistakes, or there's some errors. And they're certainly not done intentionally. They're just errors that occur. And so with that being said, I can just tell you that I think at the time they did the best job they could.
11 years after Beth disappeared, her mother went to court to ask a judge to declare her daughter legally dead.
In your mind and your heart, believe that she is in fact dead?
Yes, I think she is dead.
I can just tell you that really in my heart of hearts, and what I have to believe is that if we just keep after it, eventually we'll find that missing piece of the puzzle that can put the rest of it together for us.
9 Wants to Know investigator Kevin Vaughn is joining us now. You've been following this case for a very long time. What makes this
crazy? I guess she's never been found, this one. So out of the 4 cases, this one still is never, she's never been found. So let's just go through. This is off of the Charlie Project, but they've got a pretty detailed description here, so we'll just go over this. So she was 14 years old, 5'3", 105 pounds. You see what she looks like there. That's obviously an age progression, but she's not alive. There's no way. Elizabeth was last seen jogging at 10 a.m. on August 16, 1983. In her hometown of Idaho Springs, Colorado. She was seen in a park near her family residence. Investigators believe that a male seen at the park at the same time as Elizabeth, may have been seen speaking to her. The man was driving a small red 1975 or 1976 pickup truck with a white camper shell and out-of-state license plates. It has not been established that the man has any connection to Elizabeth's disappearance, but police are interested in identifying him and questioning him. Elizabeth's sister says a man in a pickup truck had flirted with Elizabeth a few days before she vanished. The truck was red with a white camper shell, out-of-state license plate in blue or black lettering, and a brown stripe on the sides. The man was fair-skinned and about 175 pounds, with light brown collar-length hair parted on the side. He wore description eyeglasses with blue-tinted photo-grade lenses and had a generally neat appearance. He said his name was Claude. Wow, she had that kind of detail. He became angry after Elizabeth refused to have a conversation with him. Elizabeth disappeared shortly thereafter and has not been seen again. She did not have any cash or personal belongings with her on the day she vanished. She normally left a note for her parents if she was going away for any length of time. Elizabeth was a basketball player in 1983, and she jogged regularly to stay in shape. She is one of 7 children and was a freshman at Clear Creek Secondary School. At the time of her disappearance, she babysat, we got that one again, to earn spending money. Her babysitting earnings were left behind at her house when she vanished. So she probably didn't, I mean, I would say it's 99.99999% chance she didn't run away. You would have got the cash, right? Yeah, no problem, Lanky Tor. How are you guys doing? Hope you're not bored to death. I'm just kind of going through these. Haven't been looking at the chat that much. Trying to focus. Another suspect, a New Mexico man named Edward Apodaca, is deceased. He was murdered by his wife and mother-in-law in 1990. 2 independent witnesses reported they'd seen Apodaca talking to Elizabeth 3 days before her disappearance, while they were sitting in a red or rust-colored pickup truck with a camper shell and New Mexico license plates. A license plate with some matching numbers was later found on Apodaga's property. Well, that's pretty interesting. See, a couple of these don't. I think the first two are related. Pretty good chance, but maybe not this one. But these are just things that are going on at the same time. And here's the thing: this guy's girlfriend claimed she had helped him bury Elizabeth in the mountains near Idaho Springs. Let's see, another suspect, Edward Apodaca. Yeah, it's hard to say that. Apodaca is deceased, so he's deceased, and his former girlfriend claimed she had helped him bury Elizabeth in the mountains near Idaho Springs. 3 cadaver dogs indicated the presence of human remains in the place the girlfriend indicated, but police excavated turned up no evidence. Well, I mean, if they indicated human remains, why didn't you find any? Thank you, Crystal, a.k.a. Beaver Gaming sub. Hey, you got rid of Crystal that was at the end. You're trying to throw me off. Look at Crystal's always trying to throw me off. She put Crystal at the end, and now she took that one off. That does sound true to me too, Janet. I think that does sound true. I'd like to actually hear what she says now. Like, how certain was she?
The best channel on YouTube.
Well, thanks. I don't think anybody's seeing it anymore because all of a sudden, like normally I get 25, 30 subs a day, but 2 days in a row it just went boop. It's almost like whatever I'm talking about hasn't been put out there for, recommendations or anything. I don't know. Yeah, so what's going on, Crystal? You trying to throw me off or what? I was about to say Crystal again at the end, but then I saw it wasn't there anymore. So now you've shortened it. It's not quite as long as it normally, maybe you're not the longest name anymore. Yes, if you're out here watching and you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we actually look into cases and go over them on the air, where I do a lot of the work prior to the show. I put all the folders together, get everything in there, but and a lot of the stuff we just find out as we go through the cases together on the air. Hopefully you guys think that's fun. I think I'm like the only channel that really actually does that. And so you can kind of see and think through things at the same time. So this is interesting here. So Apodaca's former girlfriend claimed she had helped him bury Elizabeth in the mountains near Idaho Springs. 3 cadaver dogs indicated the presence of human remains in the place the girlfriend indicated, but police excavations turned up no evidence. Elizabeth's family believes, however, that Apodaca was in fact involved in Elizabeth's case. I think that one sounds pretty good. In 1995, a woman police picked up in Tampa. Okay. Oh, you thought it would shorten? Streamlabs would work? Turns out okay. Crystal, a.k.a. Beaver Gaming sub.
I thought if I shortened Streamlab would work. Turns out I can to set up PayPal, lol.
Yeah, hey, Streamlabs, it's not LOL, okay? It's 101. All right, in 1995, a woman police picked up in Tampa, Florida, claimed to be Elizabeth. Well, that's weird. Elizabeth's parents flew to Florida to meet the woman, but she turned out to be someone else. Possible evidence relating to Elizabeth's case was found in Empire, Colorado in 1994. Some bone fragments, a piece of fabric similar to canvas, and a single blonde hair was found buried near Interstate 70. Wait, possible evidence. Well, did it or did it not? The bone fragments have never been identified. Police do not even know if they are human. The fabric was very degraded and appeared to have been buried for a long time. In 2004, the police sent their hair to the FBI to test for mitochondrial DNA. They hope to conclusively link the hair to Elizabeth's case. Wow. This is an old article. Although this was updated August 17th. Elizabeth's family had her declared legally deceased in 1994. A grand jury investigated her disappearance in 2007, but the jury disbanded in November of that year without indictment being handed down. Probably on that individual above, Apodaca. Her case remains open and unsolved. Oh, look at that. It's Crystal A.K.A. Beaver Gaming sub again.
Hear a riddle who jingles when he walked, but isn't Santa, it's blue.
Yeah, but why'd you answer the riddle? I was going to say blue, okay? You didn't have to put the answer in there. I think we all would have guessed it. You made it not a riddle anymore. Hey, look at that. It's Sassmere. You know, I got to go get... I'm going to put some eye drops in my eyes. They're really itchy. So hold on a second.
Little boy blue, he needed the greenies.
Thank you, Lanky Tor. Yeah, where is Little Boy Blue anyways? That would be a good night to bust out a couple of the... He needed the money. Okay, well, I think this one is now covered. So now we got the final one to do. And the final one is Janelle Matthews. I know. That's right, Woods Girl. Just seems like you never really end. The allergies. Okay, so this one is about Janelle Matthew. She's been in the news recently because she was one of the ones that was mentioned. If you remember, if we go back in those articles, she was talked about as somebody missing. But she was found, I think, this year, just miraculously, because of some like pipes being put in somewhere. So here's the original. Missing girl parents meet to share tips. Wow, Crystal, aka Beaver Gaming Sub, you must have won the lottery this week. Woohoo! Don't barbecue near Delphi. Oh yeah, there you go. Yep, don't barbecue near Delphi, lest you be accused of being being a killer by another YouTuber. Never cook hot dogs or burgers in Delphi, and let people take pictures of it.
Best one-liner by Grey. Don't barbecue near Delphi. Rolling on the floor, laughing, zany face, grinning face, smiling face with sunglasses.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, this one is weird. I'm going to just point out these. Like, these are the original articles where these are actually different family members here. Well, I mean, look what we've got right here. We've got Miller, the Miller family that we've already talked about, Matthews, and I think there's 3 sets of parents here. And they're looking for their missing kids. This is when they were all missing at the same time. Yeah, that was wrong. That was for that other case, the 2 back. Let's see. Search fails to find traces of missing 3. So again, she's mentioned in this one too. Janelle Matthews, right there, and she was kidnapped from her home. All right, so I've got it all mapped out on that one too. So I'll move it to 1991 article. Christmas is in many ways a somber time for Jim and Gloria Matthews, whose daughter Janelle vanished. She was an adopted daughter. Vanished from their Greeley home without a trace 7 years ago on Friday. The Matthews left Greeley for 4 years ago to live and work in Washington State, where they hope to retire, but they moved back to Greeley in October with the more, and it looks like they're actually back there now, though, back to Washington. Let's see. About a month after Janelle disappeared, Jim and Gloria Matthews met with Eileen and Michael Miller of Idaho Springs in 1983, 16 months before Janelle's disappearance. Beth Miller, 14, was apparently abducted. So I think it's possible that Beth Miller's case might be related to Janelle Matthews, but I don't think those two are related to the 2 adults. Those seem like they're related. But who knows, man? Maybe they're all related. And I think that's what that previous article was. It was actually just 2 sets of parents. That's who we were looking at in that previous article. Yeah, and I think, let's see, dozens of people fled through a Greeley church this week to say goodbye to a girl who has been missing for 10 years. Janelle Matthews was 12 years old on December 20th, 1984, when she apparently was abducted from her family's West Greeley home. Tonight is a time to say goodbye for us, and said Gloria Matthews, the girl's mother, speaking before a packed Sunnyview church on Tuesday night. Gloria Matthews, her husband Jim, and the missing girl's sister Jennifer Morganson were joined by about 250 others in a final farewell. Police investigators have been baffled by Janelle Matthews' disappearance and have no new leads in the case. Her parents wanted to lay to rest their hopes of their daughter being found alive. Tonight is like a funeral we never had for Janelle. It's a closure, her mother said. So, in 1994, that was 10 years later, they had sort of a final ceremony just for her family, you know, a service. She hadn't been found. And then 2010, and here we got another article, Greeley girl's disappearance still a mystery after 25 years. So little did they know that in 1994 they were still going to be 15 years later, still haven't found her. 2.5 decades later, there are still no answers. The 12-year-old girl who disappeared during Christmas week in 1984 is still gone, and there is no real hope she will ever be seen again. All right. Well, I love all of you guys being freaks. I mean, it's really cool. It's weird when people. I have a hard time referring to you guys. Yeah.
I love being a freak. Winking face with tongue.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how to. When people go, I'm talking about you guys. I want to say, oh, my viewers or whatever, but I don't really think of you guys like that. You know. I always think of you guys like the freak family. You know, there's people that watch that don't like me at all. They're just trying to, yeah, how can we get great? How can we get great? But, you know, all the rest of you guys are so awesome. You're just, you know, makes me want to come on every time. You know, after you say hello 17,000 times. I just love it, you know. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird how do you refer to people that you kind of think of as your friends? It's like, oh yeah, my viewers, you know, but that sounds so cold. Yeah, so that's what it's going to be, man. Just a freak family. That's why you got to get the... well, that's the coolest thing. Let's see. Raquel Bedgood Corley, right? I remember her name forever now. Because at CrimeCon... You don't have to get a shirt or a mug or anything to be a freak, but... It'd be so cool at CrimeCon this year. You have a whole pack of freaks, wouldn't it? Come on. Or a gaggle of freaks. What would be the term for that, by the way? A herd of freaks. You know, like on freaks are, you know, you could almost say they're zombies a little bit. So on Walking Dead, they're called a herd. Right. Flock of freaks? Yeah, maybe. Freaks. A gaggle. Yeah. Yeah. Right. A frugal of freaks. I don't even know what that means. I thought frugal was an adjective. Somebody who's wise with their money or something. Crime Tirage. That's kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to get back to this. So this is Janelle Matthews, 1984. She went missing. 10 years later, her parents did a final goodbye. 15 years later, here's an article. No trace has ever been found of Janelle. No arrests, no evidential DNA, no answers. This year, police have made arrests in two of Greeley's longtime mysteries, the Mary Pierce slaying and the Tina Tournay Sandoval disappearance. Those two cases will likely go to trial next year, but not the Janelle Matthews case. There are still too many unanswered questions. Her parents, Jim and Gloria Matthews, had Janelle officially declared dead in 1994, 10 years after her disappearance. There was a funeral service and dozens of family and friends said goodbye. But in recent years, little has happened with the Matthews case. It's still considered an open case in the Greeley Police Department. We occasionally get a tip on the case, but that usually involves a body that was recovered somewhere, Lieutenant Brad Goldschmidt said. Right, so, 25 years later, still nothing really. So here's a brief description down here. It says, on the night of that she disappeared, Janelle was driven home from a middle school concert by a friend and her mother. They dropped Janelle in front of her house in the 300 block of 43rd Avenue. I have all this mapped out. Pheasant Run subdivision, and noted that the garage door was already open a little bit. The friends watched her walk into the house. They were the last people known to have seen the girl. While she was home, she took a teacher's message. So a teacher called because her dad actually was a principal at Valley Elementary School, and she took a message. So she made it into the house. She took a phone call from a teacher and wrote down the message for her dad. Okay. Then Jim Matthews came home about an hour later after attending a basketball game for his older daughter, Jennifer. He found Janelle's shoes and a shawl near a space heater in the family room. Usually when she watched TV, Janelle would sit close to the heater. When he couldn't locate his daughter, Jim Matthews called police. They stayed at the house most of the night, finding no signs of a struggle. There were footprints in the snow around the house. Now that's pretty spooky, right? The girl's disappearance exploded into one of the biggest mysteries in Greeley history. Hundreds of volunteers showed up to search all around Greeley for her body or any evidence. At a time when child abduction seemed prevalent, the story of Janelle Matthews made headlines around the country. Her parents appeared on national TV talk shows and programs about missing children. President Reagan mentioned Janelle in one of his national addresses. Man, that got pretty big. But nothing helped. Little came in about the missing girl. Janelle had been adopted by the Matthews, and her birth mother was checked to see if there was any connection to the girl's disappearance. Police do not consider her a suspect. Jim and Gloria Matthews now live in the Philippines, where Jim teaches. They could not be contacted for the story, but have spoken many times about their daughter. And by the way, the parents are still alive today. Okay, so this is an article. Oh man. Okay, now I got to use a different browser because it did it again. I might only be down to like one, or let's see what's going to happen. Okay. So here's Janelle Matthews, 12. She performs on December 20th, 1984. I think this is her actual performance the night she went missing, if you can believe that. Isn't that crazy? Oh yeah, I could go incognito, couldn't I? Now we'll see if that works. Let me try that later. But look at this. This is the performance that she actually did that night. Don't you think that's bizarre? They literally have it here. It's pretty crazy. I mean, literally, that last night performance was filmed. As part of these, let's go. I'm going to go up a little bit further. Let's see. On Thursday, December 20th, 1984, 12-year-old Janelle disappeared. She was last seen about 8 p.m. entering her house at 320 43rd Avenue. So here we go. And that's the home right there. And you know what's interesting is you look at it here, and the garage door is a little up there, but this is the home. All right, so 320 43rd Avenue Court. So it's 320 43rd Avenue Court. That was causing me problems. I didn't see the court on there before. Janelle earlier that night was performing a concert with the Franklin Middle School Honor Choir. She was dropped off at home by a friend. So right after she sang in that video you just saw, she was dropped off at her house. So right there, she's singing. Janelle was in the 7th grade at Franklin Middle School and was active in her church. Sunnyview Church in Nazarene. She had a very outgoing, independent personality at the time of her disappearance. All right, let's see. So this article here is from December 20th, 2018. So not even a year ago. Greeley investigators are particularly interested in information concerning the choir activities the night of December 20th, 1984, and hearing from individuals who might have interacted with Janelle in the weeks and days before her disappearance. Greeley police officers also have reason to believe an individual with direct knowledge of Janelle's disappearance might have resided in Greeley or the surrounding area at the time. I wonder what that would be. What reason would they have to believe? And might be still residing in the community to this day. Because she seems like she was stalked. Okay? She was seen being dropped off, and then the person walked around outside and somehow got inside the house. And then see, there's the house right there. Can you guys see that? It's kind of small, but as you can see, that's the same one. See that? There's the garage. Everything's the same. It hasn't changed really a bit. Here we go. It has a profile in here. It sounds a little bit like the Delphi one. Let's see. As such, police are asking for the public's renewed assistance as it advances its investigation. It's likely the individual with direct knowledge of Janelle's disappearance might have exhibited changes in behavior in the days and weeks following her disappearance. It's also likely these indicators would have been noticed by friends, family, or coworkers, even if they didn't think anything of them at the time. Examples of such behaviors could have included indications of increased stress, depression, or anxiety, increased drug or alcohol consumption, increased apathy towards other important events, changes in appearance or hygiene, we see that a lot, or changes to particular vehicle that would have been out of the ordinary for this particular individual. It also is possible some of these changes in behavior might manifest to this day, specifically in the weeks and days surrounding the anniversary of Janelle's disappearance. Anyone with information is asked to call Greeley Police at 970-351-5100. And now, July 26th, just 7 months after that press release, after 34 years, 7 months, and 5 days of searching, the Greeley Police Department announced Thursday morning bones discovered earlier this week at an oil and gas site in rural Weld County are the remains of Janelle Matthews. I mean, what are the... this is absolutely nuts, the odds of this one. Yeah. Sergeant Joe... let's see. I'm not even going to try to say that. Sergeant Joe, spokesman for Greeley Police, declined to comment about how investigators were able to confirm the identity of the remains, other than to say a positive ID was made following an examination by the Weld County Coroner's Office. Might have been dental, maybe. Matthews disappeared December 20th, 1984, after performing in a Christmas concert with the Franklin Middle School Honor Choir in Greeley. She was last seen about 8 p.m. that night when she was dropped off at her home at 320 43rd Avenue Court by a friend and her friend's father. Matthews was 12 years old when she disappeared. She would have been 47 today. At 4:50 p.m. Tuesday, oil field workers digging a pipeline about 1/4 of a mile northwest of Weld County Road 49 and Weld 34.5 reported, let's see, 1/4 of a mile northwest of Weld County Road and okay. That's pretty I'm going to go to that spot now because I have it marked. So this is where she was found, but they're saying northwest, so 1/4 mile northwest of this intersection. This is 49 and County Road 34.5. So let's take this and go just straight 45-degree angle northwest, 1/4 of a mile. So like right there. Right in that spot right there, apparently. That's what they're saying, at least in the article here. Yeah. Yeah, she was adopted. Yeah, I've said all that. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to continue through this. The suspect, though, turns out to be like an ex-mayor candidate, which is strange when the earlier story we're talking about a police sheriff, perhaps, right? Yeah, just let us cover it, Wendy. All right, is that okay? Or because I don't like when people come in and tell the whole story while I'm trying to tell it. All right, I've kind of waited the whole time to get to the fourth one, and now you're just kind of typing it all in. You know, the rest of them haven't heard it yet, and it'd be kind of nice just to kind of go through it naturally on the show. You know, so that'd be cool. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, yeah, see you later. All right. Authorities didn't have a clear sense of how deep Matthews' remains were when they discovered or how long they'd been there. The construction equipment workers were using moves about 8 to 10 inches of material each pass. So they actually put up these old satellite images from a long time ago. Right there. And then here's another image right there. Yeah, what difference does it make, though, Freethinker? I mean, that was 30-something years ago. We're just kind of trying to go through the case right now. So they have the satellite images, and like you can see that they've been putting in houses right there. And then there's like, I think gas lines or something they were putting in there. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, the lines aren't even open, though, Freethinker. So, I mean, what am I supposed to do about it? Just sit here and just read comments in the chat for 20 minutes? Yeah. Yeah, how about this? I'll just sit here like this quiet. You guys go ahead and get all the questions answered. And then I'll cover the rest of it in a few minutes. That's what it always seems like. Like people, somebody just shows up, hey, I knew the person, and they want me to stop the show, set up an entire thing, and I don't really understand. And then people get upset like free thinker. Wow, I really wanted... How about this? Go talk to her off on the side. I don't care, all right? Jesus. Wow, that's a crazy number there, Cairo. 3273.
I've typed like 20 different things and erased them all. I don't want to stir the pot, but thank you for keeping these unknown cases alive. Thanks for not stooping to other people's level. We all appreciate the work you do.
Well, thank you. Cairo Al-Qadir. Really appreciate it. So I don't even know where I was. Where the hell was I? I was kind of on a roll going through this, and it's gone now. Yeah, at 4:50 p.m. Tuesday, oil field workers digging a pipeline about 1/4 of a mile northwest of Weld County Road 49 and Weld 34.5 reported to law enforcement they had discovered human remains. Holy shit. Holy shit. Well, thanks.
Great stream. Holy shit.
Yeah. But hey, it wasn't really the actual word. It was just holy. Greeley Police and Weld District Attorney's Office all responded to inspect the scene Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Matthew's parents, Jim and Gloria, who retired to Costa Rica, have notified. So weren't they the ones in the Philippines? And then heck, now I don't remember if that was the same. Let's see. Jim, for a long time, was a suspect in the case, but Timkowicz declined to comment about whether or not he remains a suspect in his adopted daughter's disappearance. So the father, really? No, that's Jim for a long time was a suspect. Wow. So the father was a suspect? Really? He was at a basketball game. How would that have happened? Okay. So it kind of talks about this area here. It says, although Highway 49 has been a major north-south thoroughfare for decades, serving as an alternate option to traveling US 85, it looked very different in 1984. Instead of landscape dotted with oil and gas wells and other facilities for energy development, the area around Weld 49 would have comprised of acres and acres of scrub brush. Yeah, so I mean, back then, I think this image right here is 1973, so look at that. There's nothing there, but now they're starting to build there. And this image here is 2005. This one is 1973. So in 1984, when her body was put there, it would have looked more like this. Nothing. So the person probably had no idea that at some point there's going to be this construction going on. And it's just an absolute miracle. See, that's what I've always said. There were probably bodies all over the place. Right? I mean, it's just some of them are miraculously dug up. Yeah. Yeah. In 1984, Weld 49 was 2 lanes wide and almost devoid of shoulders, said Jennifer Finch. Images taken by the county GIS department, which Woods Girl out there knows all about that, in 1973, 2005, showed the area in the vicinity of Weld 49 and Weld 34.5 was desolate and completely devoid of all the oil and gas activity in the area today. And that activity would play a big role in the discovery of Matthews' remains. On Wednesday afternoon, the Greeley Tribune received an anonymous message containing pictures taken at the oil and gas site. At the request of law enforcement, the Tribune did not print those pictures. And out of respect for the Matthews and her family, Tribune won't publish the photos now or at any time in the future. However, in the interest of keeping the public as informed as possible given the circumstances, and after discussing it with investigators, a compromise of describing the photos was reached. The Tribune received 2 photos. The first is a picture of a small hole about the circumference of a basketball hoop. Above and slightly to the left of the hole, a human skull sits on the ground. To the right of the hole is what appears to be tattered red and blue colored clothing. Looks like she was kind of wearing, red and a little red and blue in there. I don't know if that's what she had on at the time, but The second photo is a close-up of the lower jaw, which is separated from the rest of the skull. It was still testing inside the hole when the photos were taken. The jaw appears to have all the teeth still intact. The teeth are outfitted with braces, so that's probably how they were able to determine almost right away whose teeth those were. The second photo, or let's see, in December on the 34th anniversary, Greeley police announced it was ramping up its investigation. Isn't that wild? Like, they ramped up an investigation after all those years, and then just 7 months later, they randomly get a find like that after 34 years. Matthews was wearing a red and blue colored clothing, there it is, right there, during the concert, according to video footage. She also wore braces. Greeley police hosted a news conference at 3 p.m. Thursday at the department at, give an address and everything. Is this press conference available out there? Does anybody have that on Facebook or something like that? Yep, same clothing. So she probably just came home, just hadn't got home for very long. It'd be interesting to watch that press conference. Well, it's going to get a lot wackier here in a minute. Let's see what this is. Oh, that's the concert. Let's watch that again. Yeah, see that? Red and blue right there. Definitely red and blue. Look. God, that's so bizarre, It's crazy to see. It's a little bit like the Delphi case, right? You see pictures on the bridge, and then all of a sudden some monster comes by. But you have these images so close to the time that they were killed. Okay, well, check this out, though. So that article there was, when they found the bones, that was in July, right? But look at this. This is from September 13th, 2 weeks ago. Former Idaho gubernatorial candidate being investigated for the 1984 Greeley cold case murder of 12-year-old girl. Steve Pankey, who was previously lived... See, I was going to get to this, by the way. So you had the person that came in here, I knew I was going to get to the same stuff, but I wanted to go through the whole thing in an order that I had planned. So I'm sorry that I didn't stop the whole show. If after we cover this, if she is still there and wants to call in, that would be great. But it's hard for me to just stop the show. I get totally discombobulated unless it's a case that I've covered 1,000 times. Okay. But anyway, Steve Pankey, who previously lived in northern Colorado, told the Idaho Statesman that the first time he heard about the murder case of Janelle Matthews was the day after Christmas that year. I am not against them solving it, okay? I'm for solving it, the 68-year-old Pankey told the newspaper. He also said he wants his story to be heard in case he's arrested. So far, there have been no arrests in the cold case murder, and Pankey has not yet responded to messages from Colorado Sun seeking comment. He told Statesman that the Twin Falls, Idaho Police Department searched his condominium and car on September 4th, and they retrieved financial documents and electronics. He told the newspaper that he had submitted a DNA sample a month before investigators launched the search. Let's see. He told us... Why would he do that, though? Department searched his condominium car. Man, I mean, do they actually have DNA out of this? That'd be nuts. To have acquired a sample DNA from a suspect out of the dirt like that after that much time. That'd be amazing. Matthews' disappearance, December 20th, 1984, after a Christmas choir concert at a nursing home. She had been dropped off at her home at around 8:30 p.m. Her mother was out of town, and her sister and father were away from the house at a basketball game. Police at the time believed that she was abducted from her home sometime after 9:30 that night. Right, so she was dropped off around 8:30. Well, that doesn't make a lot of... The dad was home an hour later. Right? So if she was dropped off at 8:30, wouldn't he be home at 9:30? So how could she be abducted after 9:30? After 9:30. So her body was discovered on July 23rd this year. Construction crews digging for a pipeline in rural Weld County. Her dad was under suspicion at first, as parents often are in these kinds of cases. And I can see why, given that timing that you guys think. It's a case which has haunted me, he told the Sun. That was the police chief. Pankey was a 2004 Constitution Party candidate for governor who also ran in 2018. At the time of Matthews' disappearance, Pankey and his now ex-wife lived 2 blocks from the child's Greeley family home. Greeley police did not respond to messages from the Sun seeking comment on Friday. Crazy. Well... Yeah, so apparently this is kind of where this all took place, way out. I mean, just look how random that is. I mean, they could have easily just been digging and not seen a damn thing, because, you have these huge machines digging around, and somehow they were able to stop. And now they can actually put the child into that same grave that they created for her in 1994. You remember that when they declared her dead? They made a grave site and everything, and they had ceremonies. And now, after all these years, those parents are actually still alive too. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if in my brain if I'm conflating a couple of the stories, but it seems like there was interviews with the parents that I had earlier. I can't find those now, though. So I think that's really about it. I don't know if we have any more information on the. There's probably some updated ones. Let me check something out here. Hold on.
34 years later, and it is still unclear what happened to Janelle Matthews. Police say no body has ever been found. Just finished a Christmas choir performance. Police said a friend and the friend's father. The television still on.
It has.
Sergeant Joseph Timkowicz was a young officer back then.
There was all hands on deck call.
And a decade later, Janelle's family told reporters they believe she'd been kidnapped and killed. The community said their official goodbye.
You had 12 years of light.
This is one of those cases that never closes. Get a piece of evidence tonight, tomorrow, or the next day that will resolve the entire case. And that's why we have to keep looking, keep searching.
Yeah, well, you finally got there. Huh. Yeah, I can't find where there was actually... Hey, look at this guy. That guy looked like... Who's that guy look like? That's crazy. Yeah, I was watching video clips earlier today, but I can't find them. But it was the parents still alive, and they were just amazed and so grateful that they... I mean, just pure luck that they were found. Yeah. The remains were found. Okay, well, there you go. That's it, everybody. I just wanted to cover those 4 cases, but I thought that was 2 of them. I think the 2 adults in those cases would be Vicky Carpenter and Denise Davenport. I think those are related. They just seem so similar to me. Even the way they went down, involved a vehicle. The car seemed to be placed where it was found. Let me see if I can find one of these articles. Is it this one? Yep, can't find it. Yeah, I had the parents. The guy's kind of thin. He looks exactly the same, both his parents, but over time they just, they're obviously they're older than they. Yeah, what are the parents? I can't find them right now, for some reason.
There's a major development to tell you about in a mystery that is more than 3 decades old. Investigators now say human remains unearthed by construction workers this week in Weld County are those of 12-year-old Janelle Matthews.
Oh, look at that. They actually showed that shit.
Matthew.
Got a little cordoned off area there. I mean, I wonder if that's the actual clothing right there. I don't know. But you know how it's sectioned off, right? Grid construct. I don't know what you call it. It was gridded off, though. Looks like. You know, I'd zoom in as far as I could on it just so I could claim it was something else. But I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I don't. There's no above link though. MM, you didn't get a link in there. There's nothing there. Right? Yeah, we already said that, Ada. She had the same. It was the same clothing. But I'm just wondering if you can see it right there. You want to get me grumpy, River? How come? You like it better when I'm grumpy? That makes it more fun for you? Yeah, well, you must have got here late because I had a couple moments in there. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to see, and zooming in on it doesn't make it better. Okay.
To tell you about a mystery that is
Tuesday. Tori Mason joins us now from the Greeley Police Department tonight. And Tori, you did reach out to her family.
Yes, I spoke to responsible. This case has weighed heavy on the hearts of the Greeley Police Department and the family and the entire city of Greeley.
Oiled off by a friend and her friend's father. Seen entering her home after being dropped off by a friend and her friend's father.
On behalf of the Greeley Police Department, I can assure you that we are going to be working tirelessly
that's
to
definitely
bring
it.
justice to Janelle.
Chasing tips on a...
So what channel is this? CBS 4 Denver. Hold on, let me try. That's old. See, I wonder if that helicopter footage is on their Facebook page, because they usually put stuff like that in there. Let's see. CBS 4 Denver. Yeah. Well, let's see. Maybe that's it. That was July. I need July 25th. Well, if you guys can find it, put the link in there. But that link above didn't work by MM for the parents. But yeah, I watched them. It's just an interview with them. They couldn't believe it after all these years. That's about it. Yeah. Well, I don't think this one's related to those cases. But they're all close to each other. Right? I mean, here is the... This is Janelle Matthews. That's her home right there. Okay, and then her body was found... Let's see, is that it right there? Okay, so right there, and I think that's the home, right? Let me just make sure again. Yeah, so that's the home. And she was found there, so as a crow flies, That's 15 miles, so probably like 22 or 3 miles driving. So she lived really close to Denise Davenport, that area. But Denise Davenport, the whole story is totally different. Hers matches Vicki Carpenter's really well with the vehicles. But who knows? I mean, look how the proximity here. It's so, everything's so close to each other. Like even the other, you know, her body's found there. Then this is the other case right there. So it's all within a 40-mile area right there. All four of them. Yeah. So this is Vicki Carpenter again. She's the one that she was dancing, you know, or not dancing, doing like a swimsuit competition or something. And then they find her body over here in this, and I think it's actually right there in this little tiny pool here. But then her vehicle was found in this parking area, and I thought they said her seat was moved too, but I don't remember now. I can't remember. Yeah, it's hard to say if they're all connected, but I think at least a couple of them are, for sure. And what's interesting is that, you remember the case I covered a few weeks back? It was 1982 in Denver, and it was a hitchhiker. She was abducted, murdered, and just tossed off the side of the road, and that's what made me think that maybe they were related to the Oberholzer killings. I mean, it's just, this whole area here is, my God, you didn't want to live in that area in 1982-ish. Oh, really? Okay. Sooner History said Pankey was accused of date rape before the kidnapping. So, like, what year? 1983 or something like that? See. Well, he lived 2 blocks away, and maybe he has some sexual... he lived 2 blocks away at the time she went missing, and maybe he's had some sexual arrests over the years, something that made them think back to that. And there's probably some more information, you would think. Oh, oh, really? When he was 26, he was a suspect too? Huh. Interesting. Yeah. But, anyways, I think that's about it for me tonight. You know, sorry I didn't stop the show and put the collar on, but, you know, I think we could see the show. I mean, you could see her singing and everything. I think that's more valuable. And then she just got dropped off at home, and I mean, basically she got dropped off at 8:30. The person who dropped them off noticed that the garage door was open. She went inside the house, took a message on a phone call from one of her dad's teachers that worked for him. He's a principal. She took that message. Then when the dad got home, he saw her shoes and a shawl by a like a heater inside the house, but she was gone. Then the police got there. Apparently they noticed footprints all around the outside of the house in the snow. And then she disappeared for 35 years until miraculously being dug up while construction of like laying down pipes was being done. It's insane. That there's a good chance. I mean, imagine just digging 3 feet over to the left or something. I mean, she could have never been found. Then you sort of wonder how many more situations like that are there. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. He was 33 at the time of the kidnapping? Oh. All right. Well, that's about it, everybody. I don't have any more else to add to it. Yeah, maybe ask some of his ex-wives what the hell was going on. I mean, date rape's a lot different than stalking around the outside of somebody's house, breaking in and kidnapping them, murdering them, burying their body out in the desert somewhere. It's a little bit different. Yeah, it's crazy though how all these stories came about. I was actually looking up the last one first and then stumbled upon the other 3. And there's more, actually. There's more of them. I just said, okay, I got to stop. So, pretty crazy stuff, everybody. Pretty crazy stuff. I appreciate you all being here to follow, go over the stories with me. All right. Thanks, Woods Girl. You see those GIS images earlier that they had up on the screen? Yeah. Nah, Colorado is its own thing. All right. Everything is in Indiana. All right. It's like every single thing that happens in Indiana, they send me the link. It's like, oh, wow, maybe this is related somehow, to the Delphi case. Hey, look at that shout out to Ada by Cairo. Yes, that was interesting. That was interesting. Hell, I could just do a flyby around in here, right? I mean, this is cool shit. Look at this. Although it'd be a morbid flyby. Okay, so let me thank BKK, Kit Kat, Shazzle D, Tawanda, Carol Ashworth, Curious George, Crystal aka Beaver Gaming sub, Crystal aka Beaver Gaming sub, Crystal aka Beaver Gaming sub, Lanky Tor, Crystal aka Beaver Gaming sub, Carrie Brunette, Claudia Neubauer. All right, and then we've also got Cairo Al-Qadir and Ryan. Thank you. On PayPal out there.
No one better than Grey, smiling face with heart eyes, thumbs up, light skin tone woman dancing musical notes.
Thank you, Claudia Neubauer. Oh, and then also Gail Howell on PayPal earlier. I must have missed that one. Okay, all right. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the channel. And in about the day after, I guess it's still September. What I think in about, what is it? So September only has 30 days, right? Yeah. So in 5 days, we'll be making another contribution to I'm going to probably do the DNA Dope Project again. Either that or exploited and missing children, I think this time. Yep, it's almost Halloween. I think I've got a costume for Halloween. I've got an entire green bodysuit like those Intel characters, but it only has my face. So all you'll be able to see is my face just floating around in the air. Isn't that great? And then what I should do is put green on my eyeballs too. Then you can't see anything. Okay, now I'm trying to pick a place. To go. By the way, if everybody hit the like button tonight?
I'm tired of it.
Hit the like button, 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 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 55, 70, hit the like button, 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 hit the like button. Okay, one more time. Hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button.
15, I better dung bear on 15, 20, I better dung bear on 15, better dung bear on 20, down 5, better dung bear on 30, and 30, and 30, 25, better dung bear on 30. You want to put 30, sir, 25 of them, you're out. I better dung bear on 25, better dung bear on 30, 30, now 5, I'm 35.
Oh my God.
There you go, Ada. There's your voice. Oh my God.
Oh my God, awkward.
That was Ada again right there. There you go. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got my EVP ones. Hold on. I think it said I want a cheeseburger at McDonald's with bacon on the top. Let's see what this one sounds like. Yes, I think it's been verified that is a hamburger from McDonald's with bacon on top. Well, it could have been Burger King. You know, I kind of... All right. So where are we going? Where's some cool rock formations to fly by? Hey, look at that. It's Sassmare. How you doing, Sassmare? How you been doing? Yeah, Mesa Verde. See, at this point, you guys should kind of know what looks cool, right? Oh, that's neat. Look at that. All right. Is this it right here? This is it, right? Look at that, a secondary, okay, I'll turn that off, there we go. But look, it looks like they have a secondary satellite image that they mapped over it. Looks like this, is it supposed to be kind of a blue look to it? I don't know where the ruins are. Where does it say that?
Burger King is called Hungry Jack's in Aussie upside down face.
Yeah, I guess if we fly by them, we fly by them, right? I can't find it. I've never been there. Yeah. Maybe like in here or something like that. Hey, we'll give it a whirl. I'll just fly around, see what happens. Thanks, Raven and Lanky Tor. Hungry Jacks.
Raven is the best. I miss Daro.
Looks like they have two different satellite maps stitched together there. Because I doubt there's a big shift like that in the... Yeah, see that? Woo! We'll start right over here. That'd be pretty cool to be out on top of that plateau there. Good night, Carol. Anyways, that was kind of fun, flying around in there. All right. Wow. I'm tired. Yep. That's right. Okay, everybody. Oh, boy. Yeah, I'm actually yawning. That was some hard, it's hard getting all that stuff together for you guys. You know? And what sucked is it just kept leading to another case and another case and another case. But I thought it was pretty interesting. All right, everybody. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Unfortunately, hello, everybody. I don't have the blue camera isn't working right this moment. It's actually on, but it's not showing on Streamlabs. If I restarted Streamlabs, it'd be on there, but then the show would stop, which is going to be anyways. But anyways, thank you all for showing up tonight and contributing to the channel, following around in chats. I'm sorry if sometimes I can't do what everybody wants in the chat, you know. Probably if it was a breaking case and a family member was on there, I'd stop it and get them on. But you're talking about something from 40 years ago, and I don't know, it just wouldn't have added that much to it, really, because we already have the video at the concert and that kind of thing, and that's about it. All right, everybody, so thank you for showing up and helping out the channel and being part of the Freak family. Oh, look at that, L101 up there. All right, everybody, thank you, and until next time, be safe out there.